What's going on, everybody? It's Brendan or B Wheels Plays here, and I am back with my 5th episode now of my Europa Universalis 4 playthrough as Spain. Still not any less of a tongue twister than it was before. Now, once again, I played through like another half year in between making these videos, and I have actually gotten to a point where I can now unlock the next level of my administrative technology, which only allows me to build churches. Again, pretty much useless other than just spend some of the money I'm going to be making to make more money. But that now allows me to begin pushing for the next technology, which allows my first set of idea groups and just gives me a small production bonus, which will increase my income as well. Now, as I said in the last video, I wasn't going to go for exploration or expansion ideas first, but now that I think about it, I did get my diplomatic technology up before I ended up getting my administrative technology up, despite the fact that I get almost double the power in my administrative. That tells me that I'm going to be spending quite a bit of administrative on coring provinces and stuff like that. It seems like a lot of events also decrease administrative power as opposed to the other ones, and a lot of the events raise these two by giving you points like military reform events, etc., etc. So I'm actually now thinking about attaining exploration first, so I have something to put my diplo power into, whereas after, let me switch back to the technology tab, after this one, which still isn't even really that major, the next diplo technology level is very, very, very crap. It just unlocks shipyards, which I believe just increase your sailors that you can get, and that's really not that important. So I would rather actually go and get exploration first, and by the time I go to get these crappy technologies, they'll have become so far behind that I'll be able to get them for very cheap, so it won't matter very much if I just wait to get them. It actually would probably be better because of how little they'll help me. Whereas if I unlock this, I can't go to America initially, but because I have this island chain right here, I can immediately go and colonize a province somewhere around here or down here-ish in West Africa, and that opens up several nations in West Africa that I can take, which will then allow me to continue pushing down into South Africa. And then by the time I'm more so down there, I'll have, even from West Africa, I should have the range to at least reach Brazil, maybe the Caribbean, depending on where I start, and that'll allow me to then, from there, go and colonize America much quicker so that I can actually somewhat compete with Portugal for the first initial colonies. And as it happens to be, the Caribbean, somewhere around here, just so happens to like generically have the highest development per province. They're all like pretty much 10 or above in the Lesser Antilles, and then they're still usually around the 5 or 6 range, or the 9 or 10 or whatever total development range throughout all the other island provinces and stuff. Plus there's Cuba, control of the trade. I can then move into Mexico. I can then move into Peru and declare war on all the different Incan nations. And then from Mexico, I can even move into North America and kill off some of the little Indian Native American miners and just really expand quickly while simultaneously still pushing through Africa towards the Indian Ocean. And I can then use my administrative power to push for Technology 8, which will be the next set of ideas, and then my military technology should be at a good level to where I can then go and maybe get something like one of these ideas that just make your army ridiculously strong, or I can decide, hey, my administrative technology is very far ahead, now I can invest in something like the administrative ideas, which give you low mercenary cost, you can create cores a lot quicker, and in addition to that, when you actually core the area, not only does it happen quicker, but it's a lot cheaper, so you save administrative power that way. Mercenary maintenance saves you money in addition to being able to recruit them for cheap. This is pretty much useless. I'm not going to be taking loans unless I really screw myself or I need to hurry up to get a, an institution embrace, because that does cost a lot of money. That's hard to build up at this point in the game, and it'll just lower the interest rates that I get on those loans for each year. And so it's not really going to be useful beyond that. The available mercenaries just opens up more I can recruit, because you do have a limit based on like where you're recruiting them out of. That also pretty weak. Possible advisors, that just gives me another one to choose from for a possible advisor. Pretty much useless. I can just do that through the estates, and I can get the best advisors at half cost to recruit them and to maintain them. They're half cost for both, I believe. And then this is the big one, minus 10% in administrative technology costs for the rest of the game. That means I can adopt those technologies quick from then on, so whatever I do invest in this, however much it slows me down, when I'm done, I can just go and make up everything I've lost and then some, and in the long run save administrative points that way. The best thing is when I finish all of these idea slots, I get this extra bonus which allows me to state 5 more territories. Now, as you saw, I have just stated this one. It'll, let's say, allow me to state up all of these territories, or if I move into France or a rich area like Italy, maybe even Greece or some parts of the Balkans, etc., etc., it'll allow me to make those states, and I can squeeze that extra amount of money out of those areas, which once I also achieve Empire rank and unlock more state slots from there, it'll all add up to me making a lot of money and being able to have a lot of soldiers and ships in the field. So I've done that. I also purposely left this so I could show you me fabricating a claim on Tala Insan, I don't know, the center of trade. So that will be done. Now I can leave them alone and figure out what else I want to do with that diplomat, which probably is going to be, let's see here, so if I'm planning on going to war with either them, or back down here again in the future, or maybe other Muslim nations down here, I should probably raise relations with somebody who doesn't already hate me, which is going to be Tunisia. They're a future target, but for now they like me, so I might as well just keep it that way, because even though I don't intend on expanding much in here due to the core creation cost, it will still eventually happen. Maybe I'll release a nation who I can make a vassal and let them do it for me. So it's still a possibility that not only will I be taking over this region, but I'll be taking over a lot of people down here that would make them hate me as a result. And maybe if I'm lucky enough and I have an open space, I can make them an ally and use them to help me take this land. So always have to plan ahead in a game like this. Thankfully, I'm not intending on doing a world conquest, because the level, I've never even gotten past probably like 1650 out of the year 1821 in this game, let alone ever even attempted a world conquest or pulled one off, because I suck at managing coalitions, and usually once I hit the late 1500s, early 1600s, if I'm not spreading my aggressive expansion through America, Africa, maybe Asia, and Europe, I'll usually get some huge coalition that really doesn't like me too much, and anytime I do go into peace, or anytime I try to expand, I gotta worry about many nations just declaring war on me at once. And some of those nations I would declare war on would possibly be, thank you, would possibly be in the coalition, which would then just trigger the coalition. So limits expansion, makes the game a lot harder, and definitely something that I want to try to avoid, even though I'm not going for a world conquest run. I just don't want a lot of people to gang up on me and kill me. I'm sure you would imagine that that's not the goal of this run. So it looks like the Ottomans are at war with Venice. And it looks like the Byzantines haven't even been touched. They actually start off with this area as a vassal. It looks like they've actually had enough time to actually annex them. So this is one of the latest times I've seen them in the game. Historically, this area was taken in 1453, which let the Ottomans pretty much into Europe more than they already were. And I think not too long after, maybe 1454, if I can speak, like this area was more so taken, maybe even up till 1460. But that's them surviving way past when they should. I have a feeling once they recover from this war with Venice, that's not going to last, though. What is this? Oh. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that general on, because now I have a build-up to a civil war, and it's because my ruler sucks, my legitimacy sucks, and my stability sucks. So pretty much what I'm going to do here is let this build up to a level to where at least I can raise my stability, which should be far off still. Might even take until 1456, more than likely. Kind of slow this down. I don't know, you might hear my cat crying outside of my room and playing with the door handle trying to get in. I apologize for that, but I don't know if there's a way to raise legitimacy artificially. I doubt it. Wow. So there is, but it'll set me back on my way. So let me try, where was that again, right here? No, it was government. Let me try it one time and see if that is enough. Probably not. I don't want to do it again. I don't want the Civil War to trigger, but it's something that's actually really easy to handle, because you just get a bunch of events that give you legitimacy, and you just have to get to 90 legitimacy to make it stop. But I would like to expand and continue making money. Not going to be making any money if I raise my army maintenance, but I'm also not going to be able to defend against the rebels if I don't. So I think I'll just raise it that one time and then leave it alone for now. I'm not going to make this a state. That is a very weak territory. It would help me for right now, but not really by much. That little tiny bit of money in the short term isn't very important. Long term, I'd rather save that state for something better that'll make me more money. Now I need to figure out what to do with this diplomat. What I think I'm going to do is begin improving relations with Naples, because if I can get high enough of relations with them and they decide that they hate Aragon more than they do right now, I should be able to eventually support their independence when they're ready to go, and that'll weaken Aragon a lot more than taking any land from them will. And it'll allow me to get a free ally if we win, which we will, the Independence War. When they get independence, they automatically become your ally. So that would allow me to maybe move into this area a lot easier, while simultaneously absolutely destroying Aragon's ability ever to defend against me again. Not like they really can as is, but they sure have a better chance than they would without Naples. So this is going to continue to be a very slow portion of the game as I attempt to deal with the possibility of a civil war building up, and also prepare myself for the next war. I might just let that civil war trigger. I've never actually had a disaster trigger in this game before, because I always just nip them in the bud before it gets serious. But because of that, I obviously just got myself into a disaster by doing what I just did by lowering my legitimacy too much. So I guess I'm going to have to pay for that action, but at least I'm going to have a kick-ass general to get rid of them. Oh, and also, let me see where these rebels are supposed to spawn. I actually let that slip. I don't know the mechanics for this, so they're going to be in one or the other. They're both... I'm going to assume it's Gibraltar because even though they're both like... See, I just don't know how the mechanics work. They're both the same the same development, but this one makes a little bit more money. So I'm just going to assume they're spawning there. Basically, I'm going to try to plant my army there so they just spawn right on top of it. I'm going to lose this battle if I don't do this too. I think they're going to spawn in another month or two, so I should have enough time to get my maintenance up high enough so my morale isn't too low. And I've got my best attacking general in charge as well. So this is something you'll never see me do because I've never done it before unless I'm getting absolutely destroyed. You can hire condottieri, which are basically like mercenaries, but it's just another country's standing army, and they pretty much loan it to you, and you just pay for everything. And I think they pay for the manpower loss. I don't think you do, but again, never done it, probably totally wrong. That's something that, when you play on the higher difficulties, makes it very, very, very hard to win certain wars. You can have the biggest advantage, and you declare a war, and this country is just, you know, a place like Venice is just sitting there with bundles and bundles of cash due to them owning pretty much the most wealthy trade center in the world right off rip, who can just hire 20,000 men like they just did, I believe, and all of a sudden you're outnumbered and you lose the war, and you really don't have any control over whether they decide to do that or not either. So I think what I'm going to do here is actually just play until the end of this year. This is going to be a lot shorter video than the last one. I don't keep a timer going like I believe I said, and I may or may not have just made a 28-minute video out of the last one. So this one will probably be more like, oh, and of course they went to the other one. This one will probably be more like 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 10-ish, something like that. Not too much to do at this part. Unfortunately, I did my one war for pretty much the decade, and unless an opportunity opens up or I decide that I want to go into North Africa after the truce ends, which I don't, or I end up getting exploration sooner rather than later and I go and immediately start colonizing and destroying West Africa. But I don't know if I'm going to do that right away because I'm not going to be able to convert them. It's going to lower my religious unity, which is going to just end up with me having to kill a lot of rebels for not a lot of gain, and that's not a good thing. Waste a lot of manpower, waste a lot of time that I could be using on something more productive. So now, before I wrap up this video, because I actually definitely played further than I just said I was going to, I'm going to begin the annexation of this little province right here. Not very important. It'll give me 3,000 more troops, and if they have any semblance of a navy, I'll inherit that. Not like that matters. It'll probably just be a couple transport ships or a trade ship or something, but it'll help. It's free. And of course I get 9 more development under my control. Province with iron, which helps me build stuff. I'd have to develop this area for it to ever really be worth building anything in, but still a good free province. Now, just because I don't know if I'm going to end up in Italy at any point in time, I'm just going to keep improving relations with people there, which my plan, since it's changed a little bit, is to obviously, like I said, go down West Africa, maybe even end up in South Africa. Well, definitely end up in South Africa, but maybe not before I start to move into America. But while I'm doing that, because a lot of the harder nations to kill off, especially early game, are in Europe, and expansion is slower in Europe, I'm only going to be picking particular provinces, like obviously uniting Spain, obviously kind of moving through the Mediterranean, move into rich areas like Italy where I only have to take 1 or 2 provinces to get a ridiculous amount of money out of it, ridiculous amount of development, and also just establish myself more in the Mediterranean. And then I think eventually I'm going to springboard into Greece and Albania, stuff like that, just to continue my Mediterranean control. And then either I'm going to move in through here, where a lot of the gold is and a lot of the good trade and one of the most important trade nodes, and then move into Africa from there. Or maybe I'll be able to time it where I simultaneously move in from both sides. I can invade from the north and the south. And let's say I decide I don't want more crappy African clay and I want some much more rich, but for the most part still crappy Middle Eastern territory. I can be more open to the idea of that. Whereas if my closest province was like right in this area, maybe I wouldn't want to commit to then having a bunch of land that's going to hate me all the way over here, halfway, all the way across the Mediterranean from my home territory. But if I'm already in Africa, I can just walk an army up. Or if I'm already over in this area, I can just leave an army here and just put them where they need to go when they need to go there. And basically this game is all about opening up opportunities for expansion, because you can become limited by truces, you can become limited by coalitions, you can become limited by alliances, and generally one or all of the things is something that's going to happen in Europe. And so you want to only stay to the periphery of Europe, just kind of take out the easy targets who won't waste too much men, while building up your power in the completely easy, no matter what your circumstances are, areas of just taking the whole of Mexico, the whole of Peru, and just the Andes Mountains, all rich territory full of gold, and you have to just fight natives who can't possibly fight back, even if there's 50,000 of them to your 10,000. Maybe that's an overestimation, but I still feel like you would win that battle. But I'll be building up power and money easily, while also simultaneously building up power and money easily. So if I ever do get locked into a European war, I'll be ready to go, and I'll probably be a lot more powerful than the majority of the alliance I'm up against. And I wouldn't have had to waste a lot of resources fighting coalitions and stuff like that, because I'll be expanding everywhere. If I play it smart and I pay attention to my peace treaties and plan them out in advance to an extent, I can easily manage that. I can easily move from one continent to the other and just expand at insane rates overall, while hopefully just not becoming overextended doing that to where I can't defend Africa, or I can't defend America, but I can defend Africa and Europe. I just don't want to do that. I want to take it slow, expand through every possible route, try to stay as a mostly contiguous land power, but whenever I can, certainly try to grab good land and do it easily. You always want to conserve manpower, because once you get to the late stage of the game, when you can just literally annex the whole of Tunis in one peace treaty and just accrue all of that aggressive expansion, you want to be able to have the ability to just endlessly be at war. Because let's say all of these Italian nations can join a coalition, but they have a truce with me, and I monitor the truces, they can't join the coalition. So you can still get a coalition that's going to form, but if you just play the truce timer game and you just constantly stay at war, and you can manage to do that, every nation will just be separately destroyed, will always be in a truce, or even if there are some out of it, there won't be enough to form a coalition, or it'll be a very small and manageable one that if you attack immediately, you can just get rid of with next to no effort. And that's kind of the game that World Conquest players like to play. You just really snowball and make sure that it doesn't come back to bite you, or once you hit a certain point, you just go, balls deep, and you don't care about who's upset with you. You just declare war on everybody, and you just make sure that you have pop-ups, so every time somebody comes out of a truce, you're ready to go to war that day before they can form a coalition. But I'm going to quit boring you guys with the mechanics of this game that I barely understand and probably never will understand. And I am going to end this video now, so you guys all have a great day, and I still have to return those videotapes. Bye.